Streaming is the only career where the whole world watches you win, and then watches you fall apart. Some lose everything to a slow, quiet drift into irrelevance. Others get cut off by the platforms they built their names on. A few destroy themselves financially, burning through millions while the camera keeps rolling. And then there are the ones who end up in courtrooms, in jail cells, or worse, all because the stream never stopped. There are 7 ways a streaming career dies, and they don't all end the same. Here's the thing about streaming empires: most of them don't collapse with a bang. They just quietly stop being relevant. Tyler Blevins was once the king of Twitch. He still streams today, but he's lost over 98% of his audience since he set a new viewership record in 2018. Not banned, not cancelled, not arrested, just gone from the top. So gradually that a lot of people didn't even notice until it was already done. In April 2018, Ninja hosted a live event at the esports arena in the Luxor Resort and Casino in Las Vegas, and his viewership peaked at 667,000 concurrent viewers. 667,000 people watching one man play a video game. That number is almost impossible to wrap your head around, and for a brief moment in history, it was just a Tuesday for Tyler Blevins. At the peak of his popularity, Ninja broke the record for most active subscribers at over 250,000. This record has since been beaten, but at the time it was a monumental number. No one else had even crossed 100,000 before that. He also broke the record for most concurrent viewers for a solo streamer when he played alongside Drake and Travis Scott. He wasn't just a gamer anymore, he was a cultural phenomenon. The first streamer to get his face on a cereal box, on magazine covers, on ESPN. So how does someone go from 667,000 live viewers to being the punchline of internet comment sections? It started with a decision that looked brilliant on paper. In 2019, not long after his record-shattering livestream, Ninja shocked his community by leaving Twitch. He went to social media to announce that he was moving to Mixer, a relatively new streaming platform owned by Microsoft. The deal was reportedly worth tens of millions of dollars. On paper, you can't fault the move, you'd take it too. But here's what the money couldn't buy him: the audience that had already built a routine around finding him on Twitch every single day. Habits are hard to break, but they're even harder to transfer. When you ask your audience to pack up and follow you to a new address, some of them just don't. The move from Twitch to Mixer and back again was incredibly profitable for Ninja, but it also irreparably damaged his viewership numbers. As he was flip-flopping between platforms, some of his fans were discovering new streamers. And once a viewer finds someone new, they rarely come back to the old thing the same way. The streaming world doesn't wait. Then came the second gut punch. Mixer didn't last. Microsoft shuttered the platform in 2020, forcing the streamer to transition for a second time. 2 platform switches in under 2 years. By the time he landed back on Twitch, the landscape had changed completely. The kings and queens of the platform were different names now, different faces, and Fortnite, the game that made him a god, was starting to show its age. Compared to so many other free-to-play games, Fortnite has had a ridiculously long lifespan, but unfortunately for Ninja, no game stays popular forever. In the 2020s, Fortnite started to see its audience fall off. Some divisive seasonal mechanics drove players away, and others simply drifted off to different games. And because Ninja had built his identity so completely around one title, when that title dipped, he dipped with it. At his peak, Ninja had 667,000 people watching him play. But he's lost more than 98% of his viewers in the years since. Now I get like 7 or 8,000 across Twitch and YouTube. He revealed in a candid interview with the BBC in September 2025. So that's something that the internet and trolls remind me of every day. And the last couple of years have been rough. And this is what makes level 1 the cruelest level in some ways. There's no single villain, no explosive controversy, no ban, no arrest. Fortnite doesn't dominate the gaming and streaming worlds today the way it did back in 2018. Chaotic platform moves, the decline of Fortnite, and the regular forces of change that come with time have helped him to basically disappear. It wasn't one catastrophic decision, it was 1,000 tiny paper cuts, each one almost invisible on its own, until you step back and count them. To his credit, Ninja hasn't entirely given up. As he put it himself, no one's gonna stay on top forever, especially when it comes to live streaming. There's always somebody new and hot, I have no intention of being that guy anymore. I know I'm not going to pull 100,000 viewers anymore. That's either wisdom or resignation. Depending on which day you catch him, it might be both. Level 1 is the fade, the slow erosion. The career that doesn't end, it just becomes a fraction of what it was. And it's more common than any other level on this list because it doesn't require a single mistake. It just requires the world to move on without you. Level 1 is a slow fade. Level 2 is when someone else flips the switch on your career and you lose the home you built before you even see it coming. In February 2023, Twitch suddenly put it all to a stop by issuing a permanent ban on Adin Ross's account. Although Twitch did not disclose the reason at first, a Twitch spokesperson told Dexerto that the ban was caused by failing to moderate hateful conduct in his chat. One day you're one of the platform's hottest names. The next, your channel page throws up an error. Everything you spent years building, the audience, the community, the algorithm momentum, all of it, locked behind a door you don't have the key to anymore. Now here's what separates Level 2 from just getting banned and disappearing. Adin Ross didn't disappear. He moved to rival platform Kick following his ban, where he became the most watched streamer on the platform. On paper, that sounds like a recovery story. And in terms of raw attention, it kind of was, but there's something deeper going on with platform exile. That doesn't show up in the viewer count, it's the loss of legitimacy. Twitch, for all its flaws, had institutional weight behind it. It was where careers were made, where deals were signed, where advertisers showed up with budgets. Kick was the Wild West, a platform built on lax content policies that attracted people who couldn't survive the more structured environments, and the entire internet knew it. After moving to Kick, Adin went on stream to beg Twitch to unban him. Let that sink in for a moment. The most watched streamer on his new platform was publicly pleading to be allowed back onto the platform that threw him out. That's not confidence. That's a man who knows, on some level, that the place he ended up isn't the place he wanted to be. Platform exile has a psychological toll that goes beyond the numbers, and this is where the level gets darker than the slow fade. With the slow fade, the streamer still has control. They can try new games, pivot their content, work harder or smarter. But platform exile strips that agency away entirely. The decision is made for you by someone else, and the only move you have left is to find somewhere else to exist. Your audience has to make a choice, follow you into the new place, or stay where they already are. And not all of them follow. Sponsors that were considering you now hesitate. Brands that were attached start doing damage assessments. Even if you survive on another platform, the shadow of the ban follows you around. In every partnership negotiation, every collaboration request, every conversation with anyone who might be putting money into your name, you carry the scarlet letter of the permanent ban on your professional record for years. The thing that makes platform exile its own distinct level, separate from anything above or below it, is that it can happen to someone who didn't necessarily do something catastrophic. Sometimes it's a chat that got out of control. Sometimes it's a policy ambiguity that got interpreted the wrong way, where the relationship between a streamer and a company quietly sours, until one day there's no relationship left. Adin Ross's case had elements of all three. He wasn't banned for a single definable crime. He was banned for an accumulation of things that Twitch decided it was done tolerating. What happens next for someone at level 2 depends almost entirely on how big they were. Before the hammer dropped, if you were massive, you can survive exile on a smaller platform. With a loyal portion of your old audience, you can rebuild, slowly, painfully from a compromised position. But you'll always know what you used to have. And the gap between that and what you're working with now becomes a quiet, constant companion. Level 2 is platform exile. It's not the end, but it's the first moment where you genuinely can't pretend everything is fine. Levels 1 and 2 are painful, but they're survivable with the right pivot. Level 3 is where we cross a very different kind of line, because this is no longer about platforms, audiences, or relevance. This is about money, and specifically about what happens when the machinery of online finance and addiction start eating a streamer alive from the inside out. Abraham Muhammad, known as Itzliker on Twitch, where he had more than 400,000 subscribers, took to his channel to respond to a spate of recent accusations that he had bilked other streamers of money with stories of frozen bank accounts and similar woes. That moment, that tearful, scrambling livestream, was the visible tip of something that had been building underneath the surface for years. Here's how it started. Sliker explained that he got into gambling through Counter-Strike Global Offensive, a video game whose professional esport community made it possible to wager on matches, with rare and valuable in-game items, and eventually to bet these goods elsewhere. It's a path that's very common in gaming communities. What starts as a skin trade, a bit of fun with virtual items, slowly transforms into something with real money attached. And once real money is in the picture, the addiction spiral can accelerate faster than most people expect. Soon, Sliker said, he was burning through all his Twitch money in virtual casinos and asking other users for loans, always promising to repay them while never revealing his addiction or insurmountable debt. The gap between his public persona, a popular connected employed streamer, and the private reality of his finances became a chasm. And the only way he found to bridge that chasm was to start borrowing from the very people who trusted him most. The methodology of what came next is genuinely disturbing. Sliker had no shortage of excuses when it came to not repaying these loans, using evidence of his Twitch income and sponsorships to make his creditors believe they had nothing to worry about. He looked successful. He pointed to his numbers, his partnerships, his subscriber count, all of it weaponized as collateral in an elaborate cycle of deception. His common tactic was to send the same message to several people at the same time, to garner more money than he actually needed, just so he could gamble with the extra amount. Borrow to pay someone he borrowed from, over and over. The total scope of the damage was staggering. Through connections made through collaborations and streaming, Sliker allegedly borrowed sums of money, ranging from $1,000 to $50,000 from a number of friends and acquaintances. Multiple high-profile streamers had reportedly been asked for money by Sliker. One reportedly gave him a significant amount, reportedly $100,000, to help end the gambling debts. That amount alone didn't stop it. The debts just kept growing. Sliker's gambling debt is considered to be about $300,000, but it could also be a lot higher. When it all finally came apart, it didn't happen through a formal investigation or a platform sweep. It was Sliker's own mods who hijacked his Twitch channel to let everyone know about the streamer's unscrupulous actions. The people closest to him, the ones managing his community, were the ones who finally broke the wall of silence. That's how far things had gotten, past the point where loyalty could hold the secret anymore. What followed was a public breakdown. In a recent Twitch stream, Sliker confirmed that he had taken money to pay for gambling from multiple streamers and viewers, most of which he had still not paid back. While sobbing, he confirmed the accusations and repented, promising to pay back the loans. The stream was a spectacle of real-time collapse. A person whose financial life had completely unraveled, trying to salvage something in front of the very audience he'd borrowed from. He acknowledged borrowing from hard-working individuals and from innocent viewers who might not even have a job. The ripple effects extended well beyond one person's career. In the wake of Sliker's apparent long-term fraud, prominent streamers tweeted calls for Twitch to ban gambling altogether. Two streamers promised to refund all of Sliker's victims to the tune of $300,000, and Twitch, responding to the pressure, moved to restrict casino gambling content on the platform. One streamer's addiction had triggered a platform-wide policy change. That's a particular kind of devastation, the kind that doesn't just end a career, it reshapes the rules for everyone else who was operating nearby. Twitch ultimately banned Sliker from their site altogether. He had previously had his partnership status revoked and subscriber button removed before the full ban came down. Level 3 is the financial implosion, the level where the private destruction finally becomes public, where the addiction or the debt or the desperation consumes everything the career was built on. The audience doesn't just leave at this level. They leave angry, feeling used, feeling robbed, and the streamer doesn't get to quietly fade into obscurity. They have to watch the fire they started burn everything down around them. Level 4, the brand collapse. The first 3 levels are painful, But in each of them, there's still a career left to fight for, a viewership to rebuild, an audience somewhere still willing to watch. Level 4 is different. Level 4 is where the infrastructure around the career, the deals, the sponsors, the partnerships, the financial architecture that made it a real business, starts pulling away, and when the money walks, it takes the credibility with it. No story in streaming history illustrates this more clearly than what happened to Guy Biam, known online as Dr. Disrespect. Dr. Disrespect started his career on Twitch, but he was suddenly and mysteriously banned from the platform in 2020. For years, nobody knew why. The doc himself denied any wrongdoing. He moved to YouTube, mounted an almost impossibly successful comeback, and rebuilt himself into one of the biggest streaming personalities on the internet. Brands came back, the audience came back, the momentum came back. It looked from the outside like a man who had defied the curse of the platform exile. Then 2024 arrived. Disturbing allegations about Dr. Disrespect and the situation that got him banned from Twitch came to light. In a confusing series of events, Dr. Disrespect took to social media to admit that he had exchanged inappropriate messages with an underage fan via Twitch Whispers back in 2020. But then he later backtracked, deleting that post and claiming he'd only admitted to the allegations to trick people. The public reaction was immediate and total. Former Twitch employees appeared on social media with allegations that had devastating implications. It was claimed that when Dr. Disrespect was banned in 2020, it was because he'd been caught by Twitch while sexually messaging a minor on the platform, and that he was planning to meet them at TwitchCon. What came next was the machinery of a brand collapse, methodical, fast, and devastating. Dr. Disrespect lost a ton of deals in the scandal. Sponsors pulled away from the streamer, his gaming company cut him loose, and YouTube demonetized his channel, each piece falling separately, but the cumulative effect was a complete commercial evisceration. The doc had built a business, not just a persona, a gaming studio, a music project, merchandise lines, major sponsorship agreements. Within weeks of the allegations going wide, that entire ecosystem was dismantling itself around him, partner by partner, deal by deal. And this is what separates level 4 from the levels above it. At level 1, the audience drifts away. At level 2, the platform kicks you out. At level 3, the money runs out because of self-destruction. But at level 4, the money is taken from you, deliberately, publicly, by the people and institutions that had bet on your name. Sponsors don't pull out quietly. They do it in a way that sends a signal to every other sponsor, every other platform, every other potential partner. This person is now toxic. Do not attach yourself to this name. And the second makes it easier for the third. Each departure becomes public evidence that the streamer is a losing investment, which makes every remaining partner re-examine their position. It's a domino run that feeds on itself until there's nothing left to knock over. Dr. Disrespect made Rumble his main streaming platform, and he's still there today. Still streaming, still with an audience. But it's an audience that now carries the weight of the allegations in every conversation, every clip, every comment section. The content didn't change, the character didn't change, but the context around all of it changed completely. And that context is permanent. Level 4 is the brand collapse. It's the level where being a streamer stops being a career and starts being a liability. You're not just losing viewers, you're losing the entire commercial scaffolding that turned a hobby into a business. And once that scaffolding comes down, rebuilding it from scratch is nearly impossible, because the market has already made its decision about your name. Level 5, the community betrayal. Level 4 was about losing the brands. Level 5 is about losing something harder to quantify and harder to rebuild. The basic trust between a streamer and the people watching. Not the casual, passive trust of an entertained viewer. The deep, active trust of a community that genuinely believed they were watching something real. When that gets broken, it doesn't just end a career, it poisons the well permanently. James Varga was a popular Twitch streamer from 2012 to 2016. Phantomalt Lurd was a big name in the Twitch community, best known before his ban for CSGO gambling content. which was also to be his downfall. He built his entire brand around watching him play and bet, generating the kind of parasocial investment from his audience that only live streaming can create. These weren't just passive viewers watching highlight reels. They were people who showed up every day, who learned his rhythms, who felt like they knew him, and they were being lied to systematically in real time. On July 16, 2016, it was reported that Varga owned a CSGO gambling site called CSGO Shuffle, though Varga later denied this. According to reports at the time, not only did he own the site, but he promoted it on his stream without disclosing his ownership. On top of that, there were allegations that he rigged bets within the site in his favor, so that it would look to viewers like they could win big on the site as well. Read that again. He was allegedly promoting a gambling website that he secretly owned while rigging the outcomes to make it look like people could get lucky, streaming the whole thing to an audience that had no idea the game was fixed before it started. Every big win on stream was potentially staged. Every excited reaction, every moment of apparent disbelief at his own luck, all of it potentially theater. The audience wasn't just being misled about content policy, they were potentially being used as a marketing tool for a rigged machine that was designed to take their money. On July 19, 2016, Twitch placed a permanent ban on Varga's stream. The speed of that decision told you everything. This wasn't a warning, a suspension, a quiet conversation about content guidelines. It was immediate and total. And in the gaming community where CSGO skin gambling had become a multi-million-dollar ecosystem, touching thousands of players across the internet, the revelation hit with the weight of a financial scandal, not just a content moderation issue. Nearly 2 years after his ban, Varga sued Twitch for breach of contract. The audacity of that move, suing the platform that banned you for a scheme you allegedly ran on their platform, did not play well publicly. It added a layer of combativeness and denial to a situation that the internet had already thoroughly processed and delivered a verdict on. The streaming community had made up its mind. The lawsuit was noise at that point. What makes Level 5 distinct, the community betrayal, is that the damage radiates outward. When Phantom El Ardu fell, it accelerated Twitch's entire crackdown on CSGO gambling culture. It triggered investigations, platform bans, and public scrutiny of every streamer who had touched that world. The community he'd betrayed was broader than just his own audience. He damaged trust in the medium itself, creating a shadow that fell across people who'd had nothing to do with his operation. Level 5 is where a streaming downfall stops being about one person's career and starts being about what that person's choices cost everyone else. The viewers who thought they understood what they were watching, the other streamers who now had to answer questions they didn't cause, the advertiser trust that took months to rebuild. Community betrayal doesn't just end a career. It leaves a mark on the industry that doesn't fully fade. Level 6, the public unraveling. We've talked about careers ending from the outside, platforms dropping the hammer, brands pulling out, audiences leaving. Level 6 is different. Level 6 is when the chaos isn't external, it's erupting from within a streamer's own life, live on camera, in front of everyone. And the audience isn't watching content anymore. They're watching a real person in real trouble. In a live stream that quickly spiraled from uncomfortable to dangerous, Twitch megastar Amouranth called the police on her husband after an explosive 10-hour argument played out in real time before a massive online audience. The conflict, filled with gaslighting, cheating accusations, verbal abuse, and an off-camera physical threat, ended with Siragusa fearing for her safety and contacting law enforcement. But to understand why this moment hit the way it did, you need to go back to 2022, when the first glimpse behind the curtain appeared. In one of her live streams, Twitch streamer Caitlin Amouranth Siragusa accused her husband of verbal and psychological abuse. What made the moment genuinely shocking was not just the content, it was the setting. This was one of the most followed streamers on the platform, someone who had turned herself into a brand, a business, a media presence with multiple revenue streams and millions of followers. And she was breaking down on camera, in real time, because there was nowhere else to go. This revelation came to light in a disturbing livestream where Amouranth shared shocking messages from her husband. The replay of the stream is not available on her official Twitch channel, but clips of the incident have been saved and shared online. In one clip, Amaranthe is speaking on the phone with her husband and accuses him of threatening to kill her dogs if she doesn't do a 24-hour stream. In another moment, Amaranthe talked about how her husband allegedly would not allow her to reveal that she is married because it would ruin the business model. She also implied that she was made to commit to the grind when it came to controversial streams, because it was a good financial opportunity for the couple. The picture that emerged was of a person whose public persona had been constructed to serve someone else's financial agenda. A woman performing independence online while being controlled in every practical way behind the scenes. She described financial manipulation, being coerced into adult content, and being threatened emotionally and professionally. The stream became one of the most discussed moments in Twitch's history. Not because of a game, not because of a controversy with another streamer, but because the audience was watching something that felt genuinely unsafe. She spoke publicly about how her husband dominated her social media and finances, making her scream for extended periods and threatening to kill her dogs if she didn't comply. That stream, like the ones that followed, became viral across the entire internet, highlighting the invisible abuse too many women endure even when appearing in control online. What happened next is a case study in how badly the industry is equipped to handle this kind of situation. There has been no official statement from Amaranthe, her team, or law enforcement in the immediate aftermath. Twitch remained characteristically silent, likely hoping to avoid messy PR fallout involving one of their top earners. A top-earning streamer called the police live on stream, and the platform where it happened issued no public statement. That silence says something about where individual human welfare sits in the priority stack when there's money involved. The internet reacted instantly. Clips spread across Twitter, Reddit, and TikTok within minutes of the stream ending. The public response was swift. This wasn't drama, this was abuse. Many noted that the stream wasn't content. It was a woman documenting real-time trauma because it was the only way she could be believed. That sentence, read it again. A woman broadcasting her own abuse live because it was the only way she could be believed. That's the precise point at which the relationship between streaming and real life becomes genuinely dark. The platform that had made her career, that had given her audience, income, and visibility, became the only place where the truth would be taken seriously. The stream wasn't entertainment, it was evidence. Level 6 is the public unraveling. It's the level where the camera doesn't cut away when things get real, where the audience shifts from fans into witnesses, where the downfall isn't about views or brand deals or platform bans. It's about a person's actual life coming apart in front of everyone, and the industry machinery grinding on around it like it barely noticed. Level 7, the criminal reckoning, Ice Poseidon. Every level so far has had some version of recovery built into it. The slow fade can stabilize, the platform exile can lead to a new home, the financial implosion can be climbed out of, the brand collapse can be waited out in some corner of the internet. Even the public unraveling has the possibility of support, protection, a new chapter. Level 7 has none of that. Level 7 is where streaming doesn't just end a career. It walks a person directly into a courtroom or a jail cell, or both. One of the great innovators on Twitch, Ice Poseidon, is often credited with making IRL streaming immensely popular on Twitch. Throughout 2016 and 2017, his channel was a hotbed for viral and controversial moments. Paul Danino wasn't just a streamer, he was an architect of an entire format. Before Ice Poseidon, IRL streaming was a niche side act. He turned pointing a camera at your actual life, wherever it took you, whatever happened, into a genre that now drives billions of views across every platform. This also bred a toxic community, which Poseidon later admitted. Ice was banned from Twitch in 2017 after a swatting incident on a plane after he shared what gate he was flying from. A viewer called in a bomb threat, leading to a police response and Ice being removed from the flight. The ban was the first sign that the chaos he'd cultivated, the unpredictability, the anything can happen energy, had consequences he couldn't always control. But instead of recalibrating, he leaned in. He went on to stream on YouTube and Mixer, and his antics only got more wild. He used a crypto scheme to scam his viewers out of $500,000 in 2022. $500,000. From the people who'd been watching and supporting him. But even that wasn't the incident that finally crossed into law enforcement territory in the most serious way. On December 7, 2022, Danino joined the Kick live streaming platform. On Kick, he began streaming casino games and gambling in general, something that is prohibited on other platforms. Kick was, by design, the platform for people who'd been rejected everywhere else. Its lax moderation and loose content policies made it the logical next stop for someone whose behavior no other platform would tolerate. And on Kick, with fewer guardrails and a community that actively wanted to see how far things could go, Ice Poseidon escalated. In June 2023, Danino and several others were arrested in Bangkok, Thailand. The incident occurred during a live broadcast on Kick, in which Danino performed an explicit act for his girlfriend at a hotel restaurant. The act was deemed disrespectful by the hotel's management, and the hotel's general manager confronted Danino and his group, leading to their arrest by local authorities. Danino was charged with distribution of obscene content, a serious offense under Thailand's Computer Crime Act. He faced the possibility of up to 5 years in prison. Following his arrest, Danino spent time in a Thai jail before posting bail, which cost him $12,000. 5 years in prison for streaming. For live content on a platform in a country with laws the streamer apparently had not considered might apply to him. The camera he'd built his career on, the one that had been following him everywhere since 2016, capturing every wild, chaotic, controversial moment, had now followed him into a situation where Thai law enforcement was the audience. Ice Poseidon later updated his fans on Discord, revealing charges had been dropped. While the charges had been dropped, the streamer explained he could still face some jail time. The legal process dragged out for months, an agonizing period of uncertainty, where the question of whether he was going to spend years in a foreign prison was a genuine daily reality. Ultimately, criminal charges were dropped and Danino left Thailand. He got lucky, he said as much himself, that a lenient judge made the difference between freedom and a prison sentence that would have consumed half a decade of his life. But getting lucky isn't a business model. And by this point, the career that Ice Poseidon had built, the innovative, chaotic reality streaming juggernaut that had genuinely changed what streaming was operating in a completely different world than the one where he'd started. Every platform that mattered had rejected him. His community had been implicated in harassment, bomb threats, financial fraud, and now there was an actual arrest record, a foreign criminal charge, a jail cell photograph attached to his name. In 2023, Ice Poseidon joined a small group of streamers who've ended up in jail. After he and his friends threw a raucously destructive party at a restaurant in Thailand, he ultimately avoided a 5-year prison sentence in the country and hasn't pulled any of his usual stunts since. That last part is the real marker of level 7, not just the arrest, not just the charges. It's the stillness that comes after. The stunts stopped, the chaos that had been the entire engine of his career. The reason people watched, the reason clips went viral, the reason he'd been able to build a following on 5 different platforms after being banned from the first 4. That engine went quiet. Because when you've looked at 5 years behind bars in the face, even the most chaos-addicted personality tends to pause and reconsider. Level 7 is the criminal reckoning. It's the level where streaming culture's most dangerous feature, the total removal of friction between a person and a live global audience, collides with the laws of real physical jurisdictions. The camera doesn't care about local statutes. The platform doesn't issue warnings about what's illegal in the country you're currently broadcasting from. The audience won't intercede when things go legally wrong. It's just you, the stream, and whatever consequences the world has decided to apply. And here's the thing nobody talks about enough when we discuss streaming downfalls. The levels aren't necessarily sequential. Someone can skip from level 1 to level 7 faster than anyone anticipated. A streamer can be at level 3, fight their way back to a semblance of normality, and then crash into level 6 with no warning. The ladder goes down, but it rarely announces which step you're standing on until you've already landed on it. One lost an audience. One lost a platform. One lost his community's trust and their money. One betrayed an entire genre's foundation. One lost the commercial world that had backed his name. One's real life broke through the stream in the most harrowing way imaginable. And one ended up in a Thai jail because the camera kept rolling. 7 levels, 7 different ways the same dream ends. And somewhere, right now, a streamer is sitting on one of these rungs without knowing it. The audience still there, the platform still running, the numbers still ticking, completely unaware of how many steps are below them.